Hey everyone, I'm Mike Settele, and in this very long video, I'm going to take practice SAT number 7 for the very first time. So first things first, if you yourself have not taken practice SAT number 7 in the Bluebook app, do not watch this video. You've got to take this test first on your own so that you can use it for practice, so that you can see all those questions for yourself and that you can get a score that's actually reliable. I am taking it just like you would. The only difference is I'm filming myself. So what I'm going to do is I've never seen these questions before. I don't know what's on the test. I don't have any expectations other than it should feel like an SAT. And I'm just going to let you see me take an exam. Hopefully this gives you a sense of how to solve all the different questions, but also a sense of how to decide in the moment what to do for different questions. How quickly can I get into a hard question and know exactly what I need to do to solve? So that's a very hard thing. You'll understand my pacing for all of the sections, things like that. But eventually I will have individual videos for every single question on this practice test, including the easy modules. So just be patient and those will be available as soon as I can make them. But I want to get that kind of fresh look at this test. So again, I'm in Bluebook app. I have logged in. I have selected I'm taking an SAT. I've selected SAT 7. So all that is left to do is hit the button and start the test. I do want to warn you though, just since I have it up here, never ever follow this link. Okay, if you want to print out a practice test, you can find them here. Don't ever print it out. It's a different test. It's not the same test I'm about to take. It's a linear exam. It's completely different. Never ever do that. If you have questions about that, I have other videos about where to take practice tests that explain that much more, but it kills me that they put that there. So without further ado, let's begin and see what happens. I'm hoping to get an 1600, but we will see. I've got my scratch paper here ready to go. And this is reading module 1. So as always, what I'm going to do is go into the this piece here and look for the first grammar question. It's not 15, so let's see. Here it is, 16. So we're going to just try to predict the rule and see what we get. So which choice, let's turn these on, which choice completes the text that it conforms to that? Okay, yeah. So have been, that's plural, this is singular, this is plural, this is plural. So right away, I'm pretty sure it's going to be B because that's the only one that's different. Plural, singular, plural, plural. But let's make sure. The vest frottoir is a wearable washboard that is played by rubbing spoons or bottle openers against it. I guess that's a singular thing, right? One instrument that gives it its unique sound, yeah, is this thing, so it's a singular. So yeah, there we go. Right away, one question, I know I'm right. Now, this is also verbs, but notice we have singular and singular, but both B and C are not verbs that can be categorized as singular or plural. So it's not that rule. It's a different verb tense rule. This is about probably past, present, future. When does this take place? So let's read the whole passage for that because it might come up earlier. Featuring jagged peaks of black ink surrounded by hazy swirls of blue and green paint, this person's 1983 painting is inspired by the tradition of this thing, a type of Chinese landscape painting, blank by the use of blue and green hues to depict ethereal, otherworldly landscapes. Characterized. Oh my God, that took me a second. Let me read that again. Featuring these things, this thing is inspired by this other thing, a type of Chinese landscape painting characterized by the use of blue and green hues to depict ethereal, otherworldly landscapes. I mean, none of the others even make sense. Like they don't even sound good. People are gonna get this wrong though. They're gonna be confused and think this is past tense, but it's more of like an adjective, I guess, here. But yeah, okay, there we go. Moving on. Okay, so this is clearly about punctuation, and I'm going to start by assuming that C is right. I don't actually think it's right, but because it's a period, that is my first go-to. If we have two sentences, that's it, game over. We need that choice. So for centuries, scholars dreamed about locating a copy of this legendary lost work. That's a sentence. That fantasy became reality in 2022 when researchers uncovered traces of the star catalog on a palimpsest as a reused parchment. Okay, so yeah, two sentences. Let me just make sure. Century scholars dreamed about locating a copy of this legendary lost work. That fantasy partially. No, this needs a comma. Cool. Okay. So now I have two choices that both would require two sentences. So A and C. So it's unlikely either of those is right because a period and a semicolon are the same thing. But let's double check. With a blend of traditional design elements such as arched Gothic ceilings and modern ones such as floor to ceiling windows, this feels like a comma. Transitional design splits the difference between old and new, a mixture that is increasingly seen in home interiors in the US. So yeah, because we got to end the such clause. Yeah, transition. Yeah, there's no reason for a dash here. So there you go. Okay, so this is plural, plural, singular, plural, but it's probably between these two choices. So let's take a look. Oh, this is singular, sorry. Okay. When a given industry, water and electricity are two well-known examples, carries high infrastructural startup costs and other barriers that discourage competition, blank of just one or two suppliers per municipality. When a given industry carries high infrastructural startup costs and other barriers that discourage competition, it often consists of just one or two suppliers per municipality. It is the industry, a given industry. So now they're trying to mess with us. Such industries are known as natural monopolies. They're trying to give me plural here, but this beginning part is singular. This is tricky. When a given industry carries high infrastructure startup costs and other barriers that discourage competition, it. So it's definitely not these. They. It's one thing. It's one thing. This often consists. I just don't see why we would use this. That's just too weird. I'm going to mark that for review. Maybe I'll have a different insight later, but I'm pretty sure it's C. All right, transitions. So, for example, kind of a but here. Famous for its 4-degree tilt, the Leaning Garisenda Tower is a popular attraction in Bologna's city center. However, measurements taken in 2023 showed that the tower was rotating in a concerning way. City officials closed the area around the tower so experts could explore solutions to stabilize. So this feels like as a result. So, right, however, measurements taken in 23 showed that the tower was rotating in a concerning way, so city officials closed the area around the tower so experts could explore. Yeah, right, we dumb summarize these and turn them into simple words, and that's kind of obvious, right? It showed concerning things, so they closed it. Yeah. Okay, let's look at this one. Guard cells are specialized cells that are part of a plant's pores. These cells help regulate the amount of carbon dioxide a plant takes in. They help regulate a plant's water loss. Additionally, right, the cells help regulate the amount of carbon dioxide and they help regulate a plant's water loss. So it's not previously, there's no time, it's not in conclusion, it's a new thing, and instead it's not a but because they're saying they do two things. So yeah, done. Okay. These are too similar. Marcel Duchamp intended his 1917 so-called ready-made sculpture fountain to challenge then prevailing conceptions about the nature of art. Duchamp's fountain did just that, raising the question of whether displaying any object in an art gallery could be said to transform the object, even as Duchamp's sculpture was a urinal, into a legitimate work of art. Okay, so it's not similarly because it's not a similar thing. It's the same thing. It's not instead because it's challenging it, and then it did just that. It did that. And it's not in addition because that kind of means the same as similarly because it's kind of the same thing. Indeed is adding emphasis, right? So it challenged the then prevailing conceptions of the nature of art. Indeed, in fact, it did just that. Yeah, I don't love indeed just because it's a weird word, but yeah, seems right. Okay, so but this is kind of a but too, and this is a for example. So I don't love these two. I'm not going to cross them out, but let's see what we got. In 2021, a model developed by astrophysicist Catherine Zucker and her research team revealed the same supernovas responsible for the creation and ongoing expansion of the local bubble, a 14 million year old cavity in the Milky Way, are likely responsible for the formation of new stars. Okay. This model detailed how the bubble's expansion trapped interstellar clouds of gas and dust that became stars upon their eventual collapse. God, that first sentence, what a mean thing to do. Okay. They revealed that the same supernovas responsible for the creation and ongoing expansion of the local bubble are likely responsible for the formation of new stars. This model detailed how the bubble's expansion trapped interstellar clouds. I think it's a specifically, for example, right? A model developed by these things, by these people, showed something about the stars. They're likely responsible for the formation of new stars. For example, maybe not. This model detailed how the bubble's expansion trapped interstellar clouds of gas. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of that because we're specifically saying how the local bubble is responsible, or the model shows it revealed and are likely responsible. Yeah, these both mean but, so I don't love that. And then is it a so? Hence is so. Ongoing expansion. So this model detailed how the bubble's expansion trapped interstellar clouds. Again, I'll come back to this. I'm probably gonna have time. It's the first module, but it's specifically saying how the model works, so that's fine. All right, good. Remember, we don't read the questions, or we don't read the bullets here. We just go right to this. The student wants to contrast the song Poor Miner's Farewell with the song whatever. Okay. The songs Poor Miner's Farewell and Bring Him Back Home, both, that sounds like a both. So no, not a contrast. While both are protest songs, Poor Miner's Farewell is about coal miners in Kentucky, whereas Bring Him Back Home is about the anti-apartheid leader Nelson Mandela. Seems like a contrast. Humas, whatever song released, nope, not, it's only about one song. Released in 1932, the song whatever was a protest. Okay, so only about one song. So yeah, there you go. The student wants to present the conclusion of Zhen Wang and colleagues' study. So the conclusion. Okay. Like Tibetan Mastiffs, Tibetan wolves can withstand hypoxic conditions at high altitudes. I don't know if that's a conclusion. I mean, it doesn't seem to be talking about the study. I guess I'll leave it in. Both Tibetan Mastiffs and Tibetan wolves have mutations in their genes which prevent excess hemoglobin production and boost hemoglobin's oxygen-carrying ability, respectively. Okay. In addition to preventing excess hemoglobin production, a mutation in Tibetan Mastiff's gene boosts hemoglobin's oxygen-carrying ability. Okay. I mean, any of these things could be conclusions of studies. By interbreeding with Tibetan wolves around 24,000 years ago, Tibetan Mastiffs acquired the genetic mutations that enable them to withstand hypoxic conditions. I have a feeling it's, yeah, I don't know. Let's look at this is a case where I'm going to look at the bullets. They're large dogs. The mutation prevents the hemoglobin, something about hemoglobin. These mutations enable dogs to withstand. Okay. In a 2016 study, they noted that Tibetan wolves DNA has the same, okay, so Tibetan wolves, right, are the same as the Tibetan Mastiffs. Wang and colleagues determined that the dogs first acquired these mutations. Okay, this is kind of what I thought it was going to be. By interbreeding with Tibetan wolves around 24,000 years ago, Tibetan Mastiffs acquired the genetic mutations. Genetic Tibetan wolves is the right order. The dogs, right, the Mastiffs acquired the genetic mutations. Yeah, that seems right, because it wouldn't be this. In addition to preventing a mutation, no, because this is not a conclusion, this is just a fact. Both Tibetan Mastiffs and wolves have mutations which prevent excess hemoglobin. That's true, but the study is really just connecting the two together, so that's not doing it, and this is just a random fact. Okay, so yeah, a little annoying, but there you go. I feel like I'm a little behind schedule here on this one. The student wants to compare some disadvantages of docked and dockless bike share programs. Dockless programs can be disorganized. Docked programs, on the other hand, offer order. Well, that's an advantage. Worth noting is that while dockless programs are relatively easy and inexpensive to implement, they are less flexible than docked programs. Well, again, that's an advantage of one of them. I want two disadvantages. Docked programs are more resource intensive than dockless programs, but they avoid some of the latter's organizational challenges. Okay, that's some negative things. More resource intensive, that's bad about the docked ones. But then the latter's organizational challenges, that's the dockless ones. Though dockless programs offer flexibility, docked bike share programs provide bicycles. Yeah, so this is the only one that has negatives. So there you go. All right, let's go to the front. Let's do some vocab. I have not used my scratch yet. I'm doing it all in my head, I guess. Which choice completes the text? Yeah. Okay. Botanist Al Kowaleski has pointed out that maple trees already thrive in a wide variety of climates and thus may blank changes in climate better than some other species do. So wide variety. So something like withstand. The alterations maples may undergo in response to changing climate are likely to be relatively small and easily achieved, and thus may adapt to changes. Yeah, right, because they can thrive in a wide variety. Yep. Okay. Describes being on a boat. The water was so clear that it was almost invisible. Transparent. Could it be anything else? No. Yeah, water isn't simple. Water isn't understandable. Water isn't obvious. It's transparent. Transparent just means you can see through it. So if you don't know that word, hopefully you can just eliminate the others. Recently observed gamma ray burst lasted for 200 seconds for a burst generated by the merger of neutron stars. Bursts caused by neutron stars matter typically last fewer than 2 seconds. So this is a contrast. So lasted for 200 seconds. A coincidence? No. A reprieve? No. An incident? An oddity for a burst. Right. So it's an oddity means something it's unusual, right? Something atypical for a burst, right? Because it's normally 2 seconds. This is 200 seconds. Yeah. Okay. In 1776, the United States sent Benjamin Franklin to France to try to win the country's support in the United States' fight for independence from Great Britain. Franklin was very popular in France. This blank popularity, that's what they're going to do, surely helped him to convince France to assist the United States. So this popularity. Esteem, right? So it's not thoughtfulness, not controversy. That's negative. It doesn't say he's sincere. He's popular. Esteem is how well other people think of you. So that's it. Okay. Malfunction of the underlined sentence. And 10 questions-ish. Okay. In 1950, scientists didn't know much about the ocean floor. Many scientists at the time believed that the ocean floor was mostly flat, but geologist Mary Tharp and her research partner or whatever proved that this idea was wrong. Using sonar data collected from the Atlantic Ocean, Tharp and Hazine showed that the floor was filled with canyons, mountains, and valleys. So, okay, this might be where I do a little of this. So 5, I'm saying many scientists believe the ocean floor. So this is the consensus, the previous consensus. Then the scientists believe that Tharp and Hazine should be wrong. Yeah. It describes the design of... No, it doesn't. It emphasizes a disagreement. No, they're on the same page, right? Yeah. It presents data to support a claim that Tharp and... No, because they're saying the opposite. They showed it as wrong. So yeah. Function of the underline. Okay. In the early days of television in the 1940s, many people thought the U.S. television programs would rely on the financial support of ad agencies and commercial sponsors, much like radio did. But advertisers hesitated to jump into a new space, particularly at a time when the manufacturing of new television sets was stalled due to the U.S.'s involvement in World War II. So it's the reason they're hesitant. Okay. Broadcasters like the National Broadcasting Company needed to persuade advertisers to support their programming despite not knowing whether there would be a robust television audience. Okay. It compares the beginnings of radio programming with the beginnings. No, it is not making a comparison. It identifies a specific reason behind some advertisers' hesitance. Describes how broadcasters attempted to convince advertisers. No, it doesn't. It explains why a type of television program is... What type? No, it doesn't. Yeah. I mean, it's dead on what I said. Main purpose. Okay. Pteropods are small swimming snails with thin, delicate calcium carbonate shells. These animals are thought to be especially vulnerable to ocean acidification due to calcium carbonate susceptibility to dissolution at lower pH values. Victoria L. Peck and colleagues recently found that the periostracum, a protective coating on pteropods' outer shells, prevents this dissolution when intact. Moreover, the team was surprised to discover that even when whatever is breached, pteropods can still mitigate damage by rebuilding the inner shell wall. So they're vulnerable, but then what happens? The thing prevents this dissolution. But they have like a defense is kind of what I'm getting. Okay, to call for additional research on biological mechanisms? No. To discuss a conclusion drawn in a study of calcium carbonate's role in protecting the... I don't think so. Discuss a conclusion drawn in a study of calcium... Okay, so is the study... I guess maybe this is the study? Is the study about that, though? I don't know. Let's look at C. To address some of the ways ocean acidification has altered pteropod behavior over time? No time involved. To present findings that suggest that concern about the effects of ocean acidification on pteropod shells may be unwarranted. That's certainly better than B. Unwarranted means like unjustified. So they're concerned about it, but they have this defense, so they're fine with it, that the snails are going to live. To discuss a conclusion drawn in a study of calcium carbonates. So what's the main character? Is the main character the study about calcium carbonate, or is it the ocean acidification on these things? I think it's D. I'll come back to that if I have time. Okay. How would 2 respond to what some researchers contend in 1? So this is a case where I'm going to do 2 first. Ultimately, any plausible claim about the inception of tectonic movement must rest on empirical evidence from the geological record. Okay. Researcher whatever and his team analyzed the geochemistry of zircon crystals to gain insight into the chemical composition of the magma from which the crystals formed, and based on the data compellingly argue that plate tectonics may have been occurring as early as 4.2 billion years ago. So evidence of tectonics. I don't know. Let's see what 1 says. Little is known about how plate tectonics, wherein slabs of Earth's crust move over, under, away from, and against one another began. Some researchers contend that tectonic movements began around 3 billion years ago, so that's different time, right? So the time is different. So disagree is the relationship. Often noting that computer models of Earth's mantle temperature at the time indicate that the mantle would have been sufficiently molten to enable the plates to move. So he wants real evidence. This is about computers. So that's another disagreement. It's not just about the time, it's about how they're proving it. So let's see. Text 2 would say something like, you need better evidence. By suggesting that the temperature of Earth's mantle 3 billion years ago is likely insufficient to allow for the level of, no, because he doesn't care about the computer, no. By distinguishing between computer models of Earth's mantle temperature that reliably predict the onset of plate tectonics and those that do not know, he doesn't care about the computer. By indicating that computer models of Earth's mantle temperature are still being improved such that new models tend to be much more reliable than their predecessors, no, he doesn't care about the computer. By asserting that a more definitive form of evidence than the computer model suggests a different timeline. Yes, he likes the other evidence. Empirical evidence is evidence you can see. It's real. It's something you can measure in the real world, not just a model. Good question. All right, how we doing? All right, I got to pick up the pace here. Talking too much. Which statement about these things is best supported? In 2018, scientists discovered an immense aggregation of this pearl octopus along a hydrothermal vent beneath the ocean surface. Water temperatures at this site, named the Octopus Garden, climb as high as 11 degrees Celsius, much warmer than the ambient, 1.6 degrees, typical of this depth. Based on observations made over 3 years, scientists concluded that temperatures at the site likely confer reproductive benefits and that the site is used exclusively for reproduction. These adults, hatchlings, and eggs were observed at the garden, but no juveniles were present. So it's a reproductive site. So leaves the Octopus Garden upon reaching an intermediary, maybe. Yeah, maybe because there's no juveniles. A population of the Octopus Garden remains stable. Are they stable? I don't know. I don't think so. It nests in the Octopus Garden contain an average fewer but larger eggs than nests. No, we're not comparing to similar. It's a comparison. The Octopus Garden provides an ideal feeding ground. Well, maybe, but it doesn't talk about feeding. It talks about temperature. So they leave the Octopus Garden, right? Because there's no juveniles. There's adults, there's eggs, but the juveniles are gone. So that seems real. That seems legit. Main idea. Okay. Conservationists worldwide are working to protect ecosystems from habitat destruction and biodiversity loss. In many cases, initiatives that rely on natural features or processes can help address such challenges. Natural features or processes. Okay. In response to a rapidly dwindling population of blueback salmon, this Indian nation partnered with the conservation organization to restore naturally occurring log jams in this river. The log jams create shady pools where the blueback salmon can rest and spawn, thus promoting it. So this is a naturally occurring, right? So, okay. A partnership between these Indian nation and the Wild Salmon Center shows the importance of collaborative approaches. No, it's using natural stuff. Nature-based approaches can be effective ways to achieve conservation goals. Yes, as indicated by a recent project, log jams help the blueback salmon thrive and reproduce. Yeah, that's an example, but there's a bigger point being made. Scientists now realize that nature-based conservation methods offer better long-term solutions to environmental issues than methods that are not nature-based. It does not say better. It does not contrast that, right? It just says in many cases they can help. It is not making comparison. This is why the trap answer is so useful. All right, let's skip these. I don't love these. Let's do this. Would weaken the underlying claim. Okay. So this is number 12. Okay. Puerto Rico is an island in the Caribbean Sea. Indigenous people there started raising guinea pigs about 1,700 years ago. Guinea pigs had originally been domesticated much earlier in both Colombia and Peru. So were guinea pigs brought to Puerto Rico from Colombia or from Peru? Ancient Caribbean trade routes connected Puerto Rico with Colombia, but not with Peru. Therefore, guinea pigs in Puerto Rico probably came from Colombia and descended from Colombian guinea pigs. So from Colombia, how would we weaken that? How about not from Colombia? Ancient guinea pigs in Puerto Rico were genetically less similar to ancient guinea pigs in Colombia than to ancient guinea pigs in Peru. That's saying Peru is better, so maybe that's it. Guinea pigs are common in ancient Puerto Rican art. Don't care. Modern breeds of guinea pigs don't look like images of guinea pigs in ancient art from Puerto Rico, Colombia, and Peru. Well, this is a bringing in time. The guinea pig population of ancient Colombia was much larger than the guinea pig. Okay, I don't care. This is the only one saying that it's about maybe Peru, right? It's less similar to Colombia than to Peru, meaning it's more similar to Peru, which would mean it's not from Colombia. So that's definitely it. Okay, support the researcher's hypothesis. This is 13. Ad recall measures how memorable an advertising campaign is. To provide advertisers with information about their ads' memorability, a social media site regularly surveys users about whether they remember ads they had recently interacted with on the site. In a study that drew on the survey data, advertising researcher Kristen Sussman and colleagues noted that different kinds of social media interactions involve different levels of cognitive engagement. So different kinds are different levels. Commenting on or sharing a post is more cognitively demanding than is clicking on embedded links or on a like button. The researchers hypothesized that interactions indicating high levels of cognitive engagement with ad content would result in relatively high levels of ad recall. So high cognitive equals high recall. Okay, so we want to support that. So we'll just keep it with that. Users who interact with an ad were much more likely to do so by clicking the ad's like button than they were to interact with the ad in any other way. Okay, but we need the recall. There's no recall. Users who interacted with an ad were significantly more likely to purchase the advertised product at the time they saw the ad than were users who saw the ad but did not interact with it. Again, where's the recall? If it was later, maybe. Compared with users who clicked on links in an ad, users who commented on the same ad were significantly more likely to remember seeing the ad when surveyed 2 days later. So links are worse compared with users who commented. Right, so they're saying commenting is more demanding. Okay, so this seems right. Although those users who shared an ad were likely to remember details from the ad when surveyed 2 days later, those same users can forget those details when surveyed again a week later. No, it's not. I don't care about the amount of time. It's C. This is definitely the answer. Okay. All right, let's do this one. This seems easy. A student is researching rotating radio transients, a subclass of pulsar stars characterized by short pulses of radio waves. The time between consecutive pulses is referred to as a period. The student determines that. Okay, so it's something about the period, probably. This has the shortest amount of time between consecutive pulses. So J, oh my God, these numbers. 6 has the shortest time, right? That seems true. Between consecutive, okay. Have the same amount of time, 545, 545, and 0121. Oh my God, these numbers. No, they're not the same. 1652, so this one, has the longest amount of time. No, that's pretty short. And 0103, oh my God, and 0121 have more than 1 second of time between consecutive pulses. Well, no, this one doesn't, because that's less than a second. So it's just A. Okay. All right, let's do this. I like these. And then we'll go back. We got 2 questions. All right, so I feel like I'm a little slow, but again, I'm talking too much. Narwhals are shy whales that live in the remote Arctic Ocean. Some of them have a long tusk, like a unicorn horn with sensitive nerves. Narwhals are known for this tusk, but many actually don't have one, and its purpose is unknown. One group of scientists came up with a possible purpose in 2014. The scientists suggested that the tusk may help narwhals determine when water around them is likely to start freezing and become dangerous for them. Marine biologist Christian Later disagrees with that idea, though. She reasons that the narwhal's tusk serves such an important purpose that it's most likely that. So, okay. So if it's determining that it's a freeze, she disagrees. She reasons that the narwhal's tusk serves an important purpose. It's most likely that everyone has it. Right? Because they said up here, many actually don't have one, right? Notice the but. I'm using that to help me understand like an important piece, right? So that piece matters, right? So if she uses the narwhal's tusk serves an important purpose, and it's likely that some narwhals would seek a new habitat. No, few marine mammals would also have tusks. I don't care about other animals. More narwhals would have a tusk. Yeah, right. That's the problem. If it's that important, why doesn't everyone have one? Yeah. All right, good. We got 5 minutes for one question. Not so bad. But look at this. Look at all this reading. All right, so how do we do these? Well, we read this, and we're going to focus mostly on the end, because the end is going to probably give us the researcher's conclusion. Okay. This person presented study participants with vignettes about fictive political candidates, portraying them as embodying a personality trait widely considered admirable or one considered ignoble. Cynicism, so something bad. A survey recorded participants' ratings of the candidates' likability and showed that across participants, ignoble trait candidates were less likable than admirable trait candidates. However, when the researchers factored in the participants' own personality trait scores on a scale of 1 to 7, they concluded that this relative ranking of candidates persisted except among the participants' high So, okay, something's wrong with the high ignobles. So ignoble trait candidates, ignoble trait scores. So these are the worst people, right? The 7s are the most ignoble. So those are the worst people. So they included this relative ranking of candidates persisted except among the participants with high ignoble. So the people in 7, right? The point is at 7, the higher score is more likable. So for some reason, the worst people liked the worst people. That's kind of what this is saying. Whoa. Did you see that? I just highlighted part of the passage and it disappeared. Oh, all right. I found a glitch. That was pretty crazy. So that says ignoble trait. Oh my God. Did you guys see that? It just disappeared. What if I do it here? Where does it go? Oh my God. That's crazy. All right. Well, don't highlight the graph, I guess. There was a strong positive correlation between participants' ignobility scores and admiral trait candidates' likability ratings, but there was no correlation between ignobility scores and ignoble trait candidates. No. Participants with an ignobility score of 5 or less. I want to focus on the 7s. Participants with an ignobility score of 5 or less rated admiral trait candidates as more likable. Okay, than ignoble trait candidates. Yes. Whereas participants with an ignobility score of 6 or more rated ignoble trait candidates as equally likable as or even more likable. Yeah, this is basically hitting this part right here. Let's double check with C and D. Overall, participants rated admirable trait candidates as quite likable. Sure, I guess. And the rating was not significantly affected by the participants. I mean, that's true, but that doesn't report the conclusion. Except among the participants with high. So this is just not the same conclusion. Unlike participants with an ignobility score of 6, participants with an ignobility score either greater or less than 6 gave admirable trait candidates and ignoble trait candidates different likability ratings. I mean, I guess that's true as well. I think it's just B. I don't have much time here, but participants with an ignobility score of 5 or less rated admirable trait candidates as more likable, right? So in what's for, yeah. Of 5 or less, rated admirable trait candidates as more likable, right? So that means this is higher than this. True. Whereas participants with an ignobility score of 6 or more, so here, these two, rated ignoble trait candidates as equally likable or even more likable. Yes. And why does that relate back to this? Because when the researchers factor in the participants' own personality trait scores on a scale of 1 to 7, 7 is the worst people, they concluded that this relative ranking of candidates persisted, except among the participants with the high ignobility scores. And the relative ranking is what? Yeah, ignoble trait candidates were less likable than admirable trait candidates. So yeah. Okay, that's hard. People are gonna get that wrong because they're just not gonna understand it. But I felt this first passage, this first thing is hard. So I'm gonna take a quick pause here to reset my video. But yeah, you can see I was right down to the wire even on the first module. So not great. How do I pause? All right, this is gonna change over in a second, and as soon as it does, I'm just hitting the ground running. I did not have a lot of time on module 1, and so I think I'm gonna have a lot of tough times on module 2 where it's harder. So it's just reading takes a certain amount of time. So I'm not gonna talk as much and teach as much. I'm just gonna try to do it so you can see how I do it. All right, we're gonna go to grammar first regardless. We don't need the pen for this. We're not gonna do a lot of grammar on the page. So let's go to 15. That is a grammar question. What about 14? Nope. Okay. Okay, so here we have we would need a sentence before. Nigerian American artist, her portrait of novelist Zadie Smith. Nope, not a sentence, is displayed. Yep, no comment necessary. A government body officially known as the Althing. This is a modifier question. The world's oldest parliaments include, no. Iceland's parliament, yep, that could be it. First meeting, no. 930, yeah. The only thing that's a government body is Iceland's parliament. Good. Good. Okay, it's probably not either of these. Semicolon and period are the same. These include overseeing the Library of Congress's collections, which boasts more than 162 million items. Managing the U.S. Copyright Office, which registers copyright claims and advises on copyright law. And here is an exception. Love it. Managing, so we go with this because it's a list. Yeah. which boasts more than that. Items managing the U.S. Copyright Office, which registers copyright claims and advises Congress copyright law. And yes, perfect. Good exception, right? Okay, here though, I'm going to cross them out again. I doubt we have the same exception twice. Where does the sentence begin? All the way at the beginning. Recently unearthed Neronian tools in France dating to 54,000 years ago and attributed to Homo sapiens may provide evidence that interactions between the Neanderthals and modern humans occurred 10,000 years earlier than was previously supposed, a finding that, if true, would overturn current theories about H. sapiens migration during the Paleolithic. Yeah. So we have a comma, and then we're adding on a kind of clause, and we're interrupting that clause, so it's messy, but yeah, that's the way it goes. Okay, so first, let's decide, do we have two sentences? To manifest the warm and welcoming atmospheres that are a signature of her work. No, that's not a sentence. Ooh, good. This is a connector placement one. It's probably this. To manifest the warm and welcoming atmospheres that are a signature of her work, though, she occasionally relies on more traditional art techniques, such as painting. Oh, this is a good question. This is connector placement, but it's a weird exception, or weird twist. Yeah, to manifest the warm and welcoming atmospheres that are a signature of her work. That's not a sentence, though, and that's an interruption. She occasionally relies. Yes, that's definitely it. Oh my gosh, look at this repetition. Oh, wow, this is so mean. Okay. They are hardly pristine. That is a sentence. Many chondrites experience aqueous alteration as a result of exposure to fluids, as well as fracturing, veining, and localized melting due to collisions. That's a sentence too. So oh, this is so cool what they're doing. Okay, it's probably this one. They are hardly pristine, though. Chondrites are stony meteorites that are undifferentiated. That is, their contents have not melted and separate into distinct layers. They are hardly pristine, though. So they haven't melted, but they're not perfect. Many chondrites experience aqueous alteration. So this is an example. Yeah. Oh my gosh. If you don't know what this rule is, those two questions together are going to mess with you. Both A and D, we got to check first. We have a sentence before that the geographic center of North America lay in the state of North Dakota was conceded by all involved. That's a sentence. Establishing its precise coordinates proved more divisive. That's a sentence. Right? Ooh, that's tricky. That the geographic center of North America lay in the state of North Dakota was conceded by all involved. Establishing its precise coordinates proved more divisive. Those are two sentences. So it's not this or this. Why would they make us choose between a semicolon and a colon, though? That's sneaky. That the geographic center of North America lay in the state of North Dakota was conceded by all involved. Establishing its precise coordinates proved more divisive. Okay. I guess because the second part, what would be the question, right? So it was conceded by all involved. What was conceded? I guess they already said that, so we don't have that. So these are opposite things. This is tricky. This is weird. We usually don't have this on the test. Okay. Let's keep going. All right, here we got these. Following the American Revolutionary War, North American foodways underwent a radical transformation fueled in large part by spiking consumer demand for certain grains. The cultivation, trade, and transportation of maize and wheat reconfigured the continent's existing regional foodways into a globally oriented food system. Okay, they're supporting each other. So it's not an alternative. By comparison, no. Second of all, no. So following the American Revolutionary War, North American foodways underwent a radical transformation fueled in part by spiking consumer demand for certain grains. In particular, the cultivation, trade, and or specifically, for example, the cultivation, trade, and transportation of maize and wheat reconfigure the continent's existing. Yeah, it's an example. Okay, this is a but. This is all the four categories here. Actually, these two are the same, so they're probably not right. When printing paper money for the colony of Pennsylvania in the 1730s, Benjamin Franklin, then a Philadelphia shop owner, took steps to combat the circulation of counterfeit notes, such as weaving blue threads and muscovite into the paper he used. He stamped the notes with detailed imprints of sage leaves that proved difficult for forgers to replicate. So it's moreover, they're adding another thing. That would be like a but. So there's no but here. Ooh, wow, we're getting to these early. Identify what type of scientist, right? So answer that question. What type of scientist is Chowdhury? Chalk is a type of sedimentary rock. No. Some scientists study shales. No. There are scientists who study sedimentary rocks. No. Chowdhury is a sedimentologist. That is like a really easy question. I guarantee you this is one of the ones that doesn't count. And this is on the easy module. Too easy. Student wants to indicate the year that Yosemite Falls was completed. Okay. I don't see a year. I don't see a year. I don't see a year. Completed in 1930. Am I in the easy module? What is going on? Yeah. No, these are just easy questions. The student wants to present an overview of the study's findings. Okay. The 2021 study determined the information rate of 17 languages in bits of information conveyed per second. But it doesn't say the information rate. So is that the findings? Researchers found that information was conveyed more quickly in Spanish at 7.7 syllables per second than in Vietnamese at 5.3 syllables per second. Okay, that sounds like a finding. Okay. Vietnamese had the 16th fastest syllable rate, lower than that of Spanish, which had the second fastest. However, Spanish had the lower information rate of the two. So that could also be a finding. So these two seem to be working. Though some of the languages differed in number of syllables spoken per second, all 17 conveyed information at roughly the same rate. This is not I mean, maybe this is an overview. I don't know. Let's see what we got here. They calculated the bits of information. The IR was found to be approximately consistent across the 17, right? So that's approximately consistent. The IR, the information rate. All 17 conveyed information at roughly the same rate. They calculated the number of syllables spoken. The Spanish had the second fastest, Vietnamese the 16th. Though some of the languages differ in the number of syllables, this seems like an overview. Yeah, this is too specific. This is too specific. This says that they determine the information rate, but doesn't say what they did. So it's definitely D. Place Einstein's argument within its historical context. Okay, historical context. During the dawn of quantum theory, Einstein maintained the independent reality of some subatomic entities, although Bohr's opposing interpretation would become the widely accepted view. Okay, I guess. At the 1927 Solvay Conference on Physics, Einstein disagreed with Bohr's argument that subatomic entities like electrons had a reality independent of observation. I mean, I guess that could be historical context. The attendees of the 1927 Solvay Conference were among the preeminent scientists of their era, including Einstein, who opposed Bohr's proposal. But it doesn't really talk about his argument. I don't love that. I'll leave it, but I don't love it. In 1927, Einstein and Bohr engaged in a famous debate. Bohr's argument, later called the Copenhagen interpretation, will remain popular decades after. Again, is this really placing Einstein's argument within historical context? I don't know. The fifth Solvay Conference on Physics was held in 1927. It brought together 29 of the era's preeminent scientists to discuss the emerging field of quantum theory. It feels like this. The conference famously featured a debate between these Einstein and Bohr. Bohr proposed that subatomic entities like electrons had only probable realities until they were observed. Einstein argued that subatomic entities like electrons had a reality independent of observation. Bohr's position, later called the Copenhagen interpretation, remains the most widely accepted theory. So let me look at A again. During the dawn of quantum theory, Einstein maintained the independent reality of some subatomic entities. Yes. Although Bohr's opposing interpretation will become widely, I mean, I guess that feels like putting it in the historical context. I don't know if we need to mention this thing. At the 1927 Solvay Conference on Physics, Einstein disagreed with Bohr's argument that subatomic entities like electrons. No, because this is getting the arguments wrong. Right? That's saying Bohr said they're independent, and Bohr does not say that. The attendees of the 1927 Solvay Conference were among the preeminent scientists of their era. Yeah, this doesn't really get into the argument, though. In 1927, Einstein and Bohr engaged in a famous debate. Bohr's argument, later called the Copenhagen interpretation, would remain popular decades. I feel like it's this. This is tough, but I feel like it's that. Okay. I still feel like I'm behind schedule. I really want that done in less than 10 minutes, and I'm just barely there. Okay, at the turn of the 20th century, Black residents of Richmond, Virginia had few formal options for banking and other financial services. To rectify this situation, Maggie Lena Walker chartered this whatever, the bank went to provide home loans. Yeah, rectify just means fix. Yes. The creation of this animated film was blank process. Over the course of 3 years, and her club is painstakingly made more than 250 individual images of hand-cut paper silhouettes, and repeatedly had to invent entirely new methods and tools to create the special effects. So it's a painstaking process. Arduous, painstaking, yes. Diadromous fish migrate between freshwater and marine biomes during their life cycle. The migration's obligate nature is why diadromous fish can be blank those that are merely able to tolerate high salinity. Okay, so this is probably helpful. Black chain tilapia can survive high salinity, but its life cycle does not involve relocation to a different biome, as does that of the, okay. These fish migrate between freshwater and marine biomes during their life cycle. Migration's obligate nature is why these fish can be blank those that are merely, okay, so what are we saying here? Relocation to a different biome. So is why diadromous fish can be more, something about different biomes can be derived from. The migration's obligate nature is why it can be derived from those that are, no, we're not deriving from the fish. Conflated with, no, because we're trying to separate them. They're different. Yeah, we're trying to say they're different. Reconstituted, that's just such a weird way to talk, but obligate nature is why diadromous fish can be demarcated from those. They're basically saying they're two separate things. Demarcate is to separate, so good enough. That's a stupid sentence, but there you go. One popular theory of the origin of the moon, the Big Whack, posits that a protoplanet called Theia collided with Earth, flinging debris into orbit that eventually coalesced into the moon. Until recently, Theia was blank. But researcher Qian Yuan and colleagues now claim to have identified pieces of the protoplanet in the lowermost section of Earth's mantle. So they found it. So we want to say something like it was unidentified, but now it's identified. It was notional. Ooh, that's a tricky one. Notional means that it's an idea. Right, it was a hypothesis. Desultory doesn't make sense here. Veritable, it wasn't proven. They're trying to do a contrast. Spurious means kind of like they're lying, but spurious, yeah, maybe just that means insulting. Yeah, let's just move on. Oh, good, okay. Following 10, the poem speaks on a path in an outdoor setting. A slight wind shakes the seed pods. My thoughts are spent as the black seeds. My thoughts tear me. I dread their fever. I am scattered in its whirl. I am scattered like the hot shriveled seeds. So what is the function? It's to create an analogy, right? So start an analogy to the person who's talking. My thoughts are as spent as the black seeds. Yeah. It illustrates a change in the natural environment that the speaker implies is responsible for the growing misgivings described in the text. I don't think it's responsible. That's very strong. It establishes an example of consistency in the natural landscape the speaker then contrasts with the unpredictability of human emotions. No. I'm scattered like the hot shriveled seeds. No, it's not a contrast. It's saying the same thing. Presents an observation of occurrence in the natural world that the speaker then expands on to convey a sense of turbulent interior state, maybe. It evokes the ordinariness of an event in nature to suggest the critical self-evaluation the speaker engages in is a common pursuit. No. It's just, there's tumultuous stuff. The wind is going, the mind is going. That seems right. Function in the underline. Okay. The Bayeux tapestry from 11th century France depicts 75 scenes over 250 feet of fabric. It was likely produced by workers embroidering in sections and then joining the resulting panels together. It's plausible that the workshop then produced the tapestry had never produced one so large, and some researchers claim that a close examination of the joints, the places where the panels are together, suggests that the workers developed and refined their joining process over the course of the production. For example, it's probably an example, the first join the workers completed exhibits a clear misalignment of the borders of the two panels, whereas the later joins are... Okay, it's just an example. It tells me what it is. It advances the people it events. No, it doesn't. It supports an argument about the workers who produced. Yeah, that they did it over time. Maybe. It compares the Bayeux tapestry with other tapestries. No. It describes how researchers determined where. No. Where was it produced? Doesn't say. This is easy one. What is the strongly suggestive of the story of Hans Castorp? Okay. The story of Hans Castorp, well, that we intend to tell here, not for his sake, for the reader will come to know him as a perfectly ordinary, if engaging young man, but for the sake of the story itself, which seems to us to be very much worth telling, although in Hans Castorp's favor, it should be noted that it is his story, and that not every story happens to everybody, is a story that took place long ago, and is, so to speak, covered with the patina of history, and must necessarily be told with verbs whose tense is that of the deepest past. Oh my God, okay. Past, it is his story, and not every story happens to everybody. Long ago, main ideas are repeated ideas. It's worth telling. I don't know. Let's see what they say. Though it is true that stories of even the most uninteresting people are themselves interesting because all people are unique. All people are unique. The reason the story is interesting is nonetheless difficult to understand because of the passage of time. I don't know. Even though it is a story of a person of no particular importance, its age and manner in which it therefore must be told are both indicators the story itself is important. Like all stories about the lives of inconsequential people, the story must necessarily be related in a particular way if the reason the story is consequential is to be made evident to the audience. Okay, is it by the audience? Is this remarkable story that happened to an unremarkable person? Though one could plausibly argue that because the story is valuable, some of its value accrues to the person at its center. Oh, this is a nightmare. Okay. All right, let's look at it again. The story, not for his sake, he's ordinary, but for the sake of the story itself, which seems to be us, okay, it should be noted that it is his story and that not every story happens to everybody. It's a story that took place long ago and is supposed to be covered with the patina of history and must necessarily be told with verbs, his tense. Okay, so it's the story itself is important, though it is true the stories of even those uninteresting people are themselves interesting because all people are unique. I don't love that. All people are unique. The reason this story is interesting is nonetheless difficult to understand. Difficult, it's not negative. It's not negative. Difficult is the wrong word. Even though it is a story of a person of no particular importance, its age and the manner in which it therefore must be told are both indicators that the story itself is important. They do talk about its age, the manner in which it therefore must be told. It's long ago. It must have to be told with verbs. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, like all stories about the lives of inconsequential people, this story must necessarily, I don't love these words, be related in a particular way if the reason the story is consequential. Is it about the way it's being done? I don't know. There's a lot of strong words in here as well. Necessarily, all. It is a remarkable story that happened to an unremarkable person, though one could plausibly argue that because the story is valuable, some of its value accrues to the person at its center. I guess that's kind of it. In Hans Castorp's favor, it should be noted that it is his story and that not every story happens to everyone. So I don't love this question, but I think that's the best one just because must be told are both indicators that the story itself is important. I don't think it's important because of the age in which it's done. I know it's repeating it, but let's move on. That's a tough one. Support. Good. Early Earth is thought to have been characterized by a stagnant lid tectonic regime in which the upper lithosphere, the outer rocky layer, was essentially immobile and there was no interaction between the lithosphere and the underlying mantle. Okay. Thought to have been. Researchers investigated the timing of the transition from a stagnant lid to a tectonic plate regime in which the lithosphere is fractional dynamic plates that in turn allow lithospheric and mantle material to mix. Examining chemical data from lithospheric and mantle-derived rocks ranging from 1 to 200, whatever, the researchers did the transition. What is the conclusion? This is their conclusion, maybe? Okay. What? Investigated? Okay, where's the conclusion? I guess this is the conclusion. Okay, so the conclusion is what? It's on the older edge? I don't know. Among rocks known to be older than 3.2 billion years, significantly more are mantle-derived than lithospheric, but the opposite is true for the rocks. I don't think we're quantifying. Mantle-derived rocks older than 3.2 billion years show significantly more compositional diversity. What? Compositional diversity? Do they talk about that? I don't think so. There was no interaction. I don't know. I don't think they talk about that. There's a positive correlation between the age of lithospheric rocks and their chemical similarity to mantle-derived rocks, and that correlation increases significantly in strength. Mantle-derived rocks younger than 3.2 billion years contain some materials not found in older mantle-derived rocks, but is found in older and contemporaneous lithospheric rocks. Oh boy. Okay. Okay, here we go. Allow them to mix. Right? That's what we're saying. So it allowed them to mix. So they examined the chemical data. The researchers did the transition. So the mixing happened at 3.2, right? That's what we're saying. Mixing at 3.2 and later, right? So there's a positive correlation with the age of lithospheric rocks. So for C, as age goes up, and their chemical similarity to mantle-derived rocks. So mixing goes up. And that correlation increases significantly in strength at around 3.2 billion. Mantle-derived rocks younger than 3.2 billion years, so lower age, contain some materials not found in older mantle-derived rocks, but is found in older and contemporaneous. Some material, so that is younger. It's not found in older mantle-derived rocks. Okay. But is found in older and contemporaneous lithospheric rocks. Right, because they're mixing. I think that's it. I got to move on. I'm not doing good here. Not doing good. We don't have a lot of time. Okay. What else we got? We have one of those like illustrate the claim questions. I always love those. All right, let's do this. Oh my God, it's a lot of numbers. Okay. Analysis of this person colleagues coin minted inside in the 5th and 4th centuries revealed a change in their composition over time. Well, a coin from this contains about 90% silver. Okay, so change over time. Contains this. Okay, so more copper, right? Giving it a relatively yellowish appearance that traders would have noticed. Because coins with a silver content below 80% were widely considered unsuitable for trade, they speculated that a crisis in confidence in the currency occurred in Sidon around 367, which was likely relieved despite Sidon's persistent depressive financial obligations as a result of the successor's decision too. Okay, so 367 has a lot more copper. Okay, so speculated that a crisis in confidence in the currency occurred, which was likely relieved despite Sidon's persistent oppressive financial obligations as a result of this person's decision too. So the next guy fixed this. So have less copper is my guess. So 14 less copper. Proclaim that the percentage of silver in coins suitable for trade would be raised. Okay, maybe. Keep the amount of silver inside and consistent with that in coins. No. Begin minting heavier coins. No. Fund the mining of some copper deposits. No. I think it's A. I feel good about that. Okay. Completes the text. For its 1974 work, Instant Mural, the Chicano Art Collective ASCO taped members, to an outdoor wall in East Los Angeles. The work is manifestly commentary on constraint, but many critics focus on Valdez and the social constraints women faced at the time, which is understandable, but leaves the presence of Valdez's male collaborator, Sandoval, unexplained. So, unexplained. Okay. We should instead consider that in 1974, the art establishment's recognition of Chicano artists was and had long been restricted to socio-historical muralists, leaving non-muralist Chicano artists like ASCO's members struggling to even exhibit their work. Attending this context opens an interpretation that accounts for all the evidence, allowing us to conclude that the constraint is not gender, is maybe on the artists themselves. On Chicanos. What is it? Chicanos? Well, this is President Instagram represents the social constraints placed on women at the time. Sandoval's presence represents Chicano murals' frustration at their lack of recognition. Maybe. I don't know if this still talks about women, though. The main subject of Instant Mural is female Chicano artists' experience of being doubly constrained by gender roles. No, because then we need to know why the guy's there. Instant Mural is a reflection of the constraining aesthetic expectation placed on Chicano artists in general, rather than on the... Yes. Instant Mural is best understood not as a critique of the social constraints placed on women, but rather as a critique of socio-historical... It could be this one, is a reflection of the constraining aesthetic expectations placed on Chicano artists in general, rather than the social constraints placed on women specifically. Okay, I like that. Is best understood not as a critique of the social constraints placed on women, but rather as a critique of socio-historical muralist depictions. Is it about the culture or about what art they do? It's muralists to even exhibit their work. Placed on a mural. No, because it's not what the muralist can do. It's definitely C. Okay. Logically completes the text. The Udo-Aztecan language family is divided into a northern branch, which includes the Shoshone language of present-day Idaho and Utah, and a southern one, whose best-known representative is Nahuatl, the language of the Aztec Empire in Mexico. Okay, divided. Lexical similarities across the family, including of botanical terms, confirm descent from a single language, spoken millennia ago, and the family's geographical distribution suggests an origin in what is now the U.S. Southwest. However, vocabulary pertaining to maize isn't shared between northern and southern branches, despite the crop's universal cultivation among the Uzo-Aztecan tribes, given archaeological evidence that maize originated in Mexico and diffused northward into what became the U.S. Southwest. Some linguists reason that, I don't even know. Let's just see. So it's different locations, I guess. U.S. Southwest, Mexico. Maybe that the language came before maize. I don't know. Northern Udo-Aztecan tribes likely obtained the crop directly from a southern Udo-Aztecan tribe rather than from a because then they'd have the same word. Variation in maize-related vocabulary within each branch of the Udo-Aztecan family likely reflects regionally specific methods. Southern Uto-Aztecan tribes likely acquired maize at roughly the same time as Northern Uto-Aztecan tribes that did, though from different sources. Maybe. The family's division into northern and southern branches likely, okay, here we go, preceded the acquisition of the crop. So it's divided and then preceded the acquisition of the crop by the use. I think that's it. I don't know, though. I got to move on. I think that's it because it's just about if there's a time difference, then that would explain why the language has different words divided before they shared the word. Yeah. Yeah, okay. God, I hate these so much. Okay, let's do this. Almost all work of fiction contain references to the progression of time, including the time of day when events and stories take place. In a 2020 study, these people claim that an observable pattern in such references reflects a shift in human behavior prompted by the spread of electric lighting in the late 19th century. The researchers drew this conclusion from an analysis of more than 50,000 novels spanning many centuries and cultures using software to recognize and tally both specific time references, that is clock phrases, and implied ones, such as mentions of meals. Okay, so there's a shift based on electricity. So that's their conclusion. So what's going to support that? Novels published after the year 1800 include the clock phrase 10 a.m. less often than novels published before the year 1800. Okay, late 19th century. So that's the late 1800s. This is not the late 1800s. Novels published after 1880 contain significantly more references to activities occurring after 10 p.m. Yeah, because there's light. Maybe that's it. Among novels published in the 19th century, implied time references become steadily more common than clock phrases. No, because the clock phrases would be if there's a clock, right? Because the time of day is going to be if there's no light. The time references of noon and midnight are used with now. Okay, it's definitely B. Okay. Oof. All right. We might be okay here. We might have to guess on one. Which one looks worse? 10. This looks easier. A student is researching Chinese government's intended shift to market economy that emphasizes trade liberalization. One means of trade liberalization involves expanding from ordinary imports into an emphasis on processing imports. Which have two types: processing with assembly, in which farms obtain raw materials from a foreign trading partner without a payment and sells the final good to that partner, charging for assembly, and processing with inputs, in which a firm expends capital to buy raw materials from a trading partner, processes them into final goods, and sells those goods to whichever trading partner it chooses. The student asserts that while initial efforts at trade liberalization were shaped by Chinese firms' limited capital, this situation resolved in the 2000s. So limited capital, this one is expending capital. Expending capital. God. So that's the processing with inputs, right? So that's going to be money, in which a firm obtains raw materials without payment from a foreign trading partner without payment and sells the final goods to that partner. So something changed during the 2000s, right? So basically the fact that this black bar is higher means that something changed, I guess. Processing imports with inputs were greater than both ordinary imports and processing imports with assembly. Processing imports with inputs were greater than both ordinary imports, no, and processing imports with assembly in 2006. No, that's just not true. From 2002, 2006, processing imports with inputs rose much more sharply than processing imports with assembly. Maybe. From 2000 to 2006, neither processing imports with inputs nor processing imports with assembly were greater than ordinary imports because resolved though, because then I don't think it's resolving it. Ordinary imports with an emphasis on processing, which leaves two types, in which firm obtains raw materials from a foreign trading partner without payment. What does the without payment mean? From processing imports with assembly were greater in 2006 than processing imports with inputs in 2000. Processing imports with assembly were greater in 2006. Okay, I don't feel like I care about that. Neither processing imports were greater than ordinary. I think it's this, because we want to say it's resolved, right? It's resolving. It's getting fixed. I don't know. I'm gonna mess that up too. All right, we got a minute for this last question. Did complete the statement. Okay. Because efficient national government is necessary to provide urban services and infrastructure that attract economic investment, these people propose that absent other factors, the importance of GDP per capita growth to ULE would likely increase relative to the importance of population growth. Oh my God. As governments become more efficient. I have no clue. This is a random guess. Let's just pick B and see what we get in a study of urban whether urban land expansion was more strongly influenced by urban population growth. So increased relative to the importance of population growth, urban population growth. I have no clue. There's no way I'm going to get this. Random guess happens. Gotta have a plan, and so it goes. But got everything else. So one question's not so bad. Let's see if we get it right by luck. But it happens. If you don't have a plan for guessing and giving up on some things, you're gonna end up losing more points than that one random guess. It's just the way it goes. So take a break and then we'll do some math. I'm very excited for that. I don't think there should be any real problems there. All right, so you should definitely take your full break when you do these practice tests, like get up, walk around. I did that. I paused the video while I did that. I have to admit, a little bit of caffeine to keep me going. It's rough. The reading hard module is really rough on the brain. There's just a lot to digest. For me, since I'm good at math, the first math module almost feels like I'm continuing my break. I'm still moving at a good pace. I'm doing as much thinking as I can or I need to for the questions, but it definitely lets me recharge a little bit because I'm not thinking as hard. When we get to that hard math module, I'm definitely going to be challenged and have to move fast. But here I'll be able to do some more talking as I kind of explain what I'm doing. But you should take the full break and really rest your mind. That way you recharge a bit. It's rough, but let's just get into it. So here we go to resume testing. And here, just go in order. So let's see what we got. Lorenzo purchased a box of cereal and some strawberries at the grocery store. Lorenzo paid $2 for the box of cereal and $1.90 per pound for the strawberries. If Lorenzo paid a total of $9.60 for the box of cereal and strawberries, which the following equation can be used to find P, the number of pounds of strawberries. Okay. Okay. So there's one box of cereal. So, P times 190, right? So why would we do either of these? And 960 is the total for the box and the strawberries. So we got to add in the 2, right? So we're not subtracting it, right? I feel like this is really stupid, but yeah. What is the value of fx at x equals 2? So there we go. 2. 25 times 2 plus 30. God, this is so hard to read. 50 plus 30 is 80. Yeah, could I have done that in my head? Sure, but it takes 2 seconds to use a scratch. Please comment. Do you guys see in Bluebook the math like I do? Like, look at how, I don't even know how to describe this. It's like fuzzy almost. Is it just me or is it just my computer? Like, what is going on? This looks terrible. Hard for me to read. Maybe I'm just getting old. Okay. Graph shows the estimated value of a tablet. Okay. Months since it was purchased was the best interpretation of y-intercept. So the value when it was purchased, starting point. Estimated value when it was purchased. Estimated value of the tablet 24 months after it was purchased. No. Estimated value of the tablet had it decreased. No, it's not a decrease. It's a starting point. Estimated value of the tablet decreased. No. Okay. So yeah, there you go. Basic y-intercept stuff. Which value is a solution to the given equation? So it's going to be 4. I don't even need to write that one down. 4 plus 61, 65. Yeah. Okay, these are triangles. They're congruent. The angle. Okay. What is the angle? Okay, so always draw this. So we just got one of these. E, F, and G. And J, K, L correspond. J, K, L. So E is 45. F is 20. So it's up here. What is the measure of J? 45. Right? E, F, G, J, K, L. E is 45. So J is going to correspond. J is 45. Right? I mean, draw it out. It does, I guess you could reason that out, but yeah, draw it out. Ugh, okay. During the first part of an experiment, a ball was launched from a 7-foot tall platform. The graph shows okay, blah, blah, blah. Yes. During the second part of the experiment, the ball was launched the same way, but from a platform that is 2 feet shorter than the first platform. Which of the following graphs could represent the height? Okay. So 2 feet shorter just means we go from 7 to 5. So let's just see if we have a 5. This is not a 5. This is 5. This is not 5. This is not 5. Right? First part of an experiment, 7 foot, it was launched. Okay. During the second part of the experiment, it was launched the same way, but from a platform that's 2 feet shorter. So 5 instead of 7. Yeah, second part. I'm just making sure that basically like they didn't accidentally give me the second part up here, and I'm looking for the first part. So you're reading the question, but okay, let's just do this work. 7. The ratio of x to y is 9 to 5. The value of x is 162. What is the value of y? Okay, so there you go. So 9y equals, normal calculator here, handheld, this guy, 5 times 162. Yep, is 810. Divide by 9. And I could do that in my head, 90. Okay, 90. At a state fair, attendees can win tokens that are worth a different number of points, depending on the shape. One attendee won S square tokens and C circle tokens worth a total of 1,120 points. The equation 80S plus 90C is 1,120. How many more points is a circle token worth than a square? So the rate here is just the coefficient, right? Because the variable itself is the number. So it's 10. There's a difference of 10 between them, 80 and 90, 90 minus 80. Oh, see, this is so tiny. What if I misread this? Can I zoom? Shortcuts? Zoom in, Command plus. Command plus. I mean, this is ridiculous. This is worse. All right, let's just do it. X plus 9, X minus 9, X minus 9, divided by X plus 9 equals 7. There it is at 16. Cool. I don't know. What else would we do? We do algebra later if I got more time, but otherwise, just move on. The equation 12t plus b equals c relates to the variables, which the following correctly express the value of c minus b in terms of t. So you could arithmetize here, but this is not so bad because 12t plus b equals c. If we want to get c minus b, we can do that very easily just by moving that over. So 12t is equal to c minus b. So 12t. Yeah, you could arithmetize here, but you should be able to think ahead enough that like you're like, oh, if I were to minus b from both sides, I get exactly the thing I'm looking for. What is an x-coordinate of an x-intercept of the graph? So 14, right? Is there anything weird about this? An x-intercept is where y is 0. So 14, -5, and -4. It doesn't say I need to have a positive number or anything. I'll mark this review. I can just graph this in Desmos later, but the function f is defined by f of x. What is the value of f of 1/4? Well, 1/4 goes in here, and that's 0. So this whole thing gets knocked out. So it's just 11/4. And again, I'm marking these for review not because I am unsure, but because I literally will just come back to these and do it in Desmos in 2 seconds later if I've got time. It's the first module. You should be aggressive with bookmarking things just because you're like, I don't want to make any careless mistakes. Might as well, bookmark it and come back. These are all questions where I know there's another way to do it in Desmos or vice versa with regular algebra. Which the following is the center of the circle and its radius. Okay, so the center is going to be 13k. So nope and nope. So you just got to read this equation, and the radius is 8. Yeah. Now again, I can do this in Desmos. Not hard. But this is just reading the equation for a circle. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals 60 or equals r squared. So yeah, nothing to know there. Circle's radius of 2.1 inches. The area of the circle is b pi square inches. B is a constant. What is value b? Okay, let's just do what we're told. Okay, So this is 14. Area of a circle is pi r squared. So we have a radius is 2.1 squared. And we are told the area of the circle is b pi. B pi. Plug points into equations. So the pi's will go. They want the value of b, so it's just 2.1 squared. In my calculator, 2.1 squared is 4.41. 4.41. Okay, 4.41. Right, 2.1 squared. That's all they want. They don't want it around. There's no change of units. Keep it simple. All right, during the study, something happens. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Well, okay. What is the average rate of change from 5 to 7? Okay, so this is just a little slope formula, which of course I do as y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. Don't bother worrying about whether the 2 comes first or second. Just doesn't matter. Just put them in the right place. So 7 and 5. So 5 minus 7. The 5 is 14. And the 7 is 24. So negative 10 over negative 2 is 5. 1 or 2, right? Oh, here. 14 and 24. Just making sure I didn't misread the points. 5 and 7. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And then over 2. So that's 5. Okay, anytime I've got a system of equations, I'm doing it in Desmos because of laziness. 3y equals 4x plus 17. Negative 3y equals 9x minus 23. Right, now first, did you type them right? 3y equals 4x plus 17. Negative 3y equals 9x minus 23. Right, make sure you type them right. Don't bother checking for the point if you made a careless mistake. What is the value of 39x? Well, x is 0.462. So 0.462 times 39 is 18. So there you go. I mean, I don't know what I could have done wrong here, right? I mean, 0.462 is the x, 39x. Yeah, I don't know. Seems good, right? The first math module, if you are pretty good at math, should just be very routine. Look at how small this is. What? The function gives the number of bacteria in this population t minutes after initial observation. How much time in minutes does it take for the number of bacteria in the population to double? It's whatever t is and whatever that bottom number is. So you got advice. Learn how to zoom. Even zoomed, this looks like terrible. Okay. The number of bacteria in a population. All right, so how much time in minutes does it take for the number of bacteria in the population to double? So I think it's 790. Why do I think that? Because, let's just make sure, right? So if I had 40,000 and no time had passed, then that would be my starting point. And then if 790 minutes pass, then this becomes 1. So 40,000 times 2 is 80,000. So 790. Done. All right. What is the value of that? Well, again, I don't want to do algebra. I don't trust myself. Look at this. This is insane. Okay. 5 minus 7 times 2 minus 4x equals 16 minus 8 times 2 minus 4x is giving me a solution at negative 2.25. So let's just do, let's just switch it to a equals negative 2.25. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do here. Negative 2.25. Now, I thought we were supposed to get Desmos where, never mind, it doesn't really matter. What did they want? They want 2 minus 4x, but 4 is a, so 11. Again, I'm going to bookmark this because I could easily come back and just do some algebra here. I can even see that there's some sort of shortcut where 2 minus 4x is what they're looking for, and here. But like I said at the beginning, with the math first module, I need this as kind of a way to clear my mind. And so I don't want to do that algebra if I don't have to. I'd rather just let the computer do it. And that way I can rest my brain a little bit. So part of my first module in math is just doing the most like simplistic way of solving most things. And like I said, I'm going to have tons of time. I'm going to come back. But why bother thinking about whatever the stupid little shortcut is here when I can just let the calculator do it? And as long as I don't give them X and just do this last piece, I'm fine. Okay. A scientist studying the life cycle of dragonflies counted the number of dragonflies in a certain habitat each day for 46 days. On February 15th, there were 99 dragonflies in the habitat. The percent increase in the number of dragonflies in the habitat from January 1st to February 15th was 12.50%. How many dragonflies were in the habitat? Okay. So this is open formula. Which open formula? The percent increase, so that should be 1 plus or minus p. The number of for 36 days. On February 15th, there were 99 dragonflies. So that's the new amount. The percent increase was that. So that we have to write this as a decimal. So that's 0.125. And we don't know the original, right? So x times 1.125 equals 99. We're going to divide. X is equal to 99 divided by 1.125 is 88. Okay. I'm going to check this right now. Let's just do it backwards, right? Let's do, stupid Desmos. Let's do 88 times, or here, 12.5, this is a cool thing, percent of, this is what Desmos does, 88 is 11. 11 plus 88 is 99, right? Done. Cool. Checked. All right, one solution to the given equation can be written as 8 minus radical k over 4, where k is a constant with value of k. Okay. I don't really want to deal with quadratic formula. I mean, let's stick with what I was saying before. Let's just go through mindlessly and let Desmos do most of the work. Okay, so we get two numbers here. Let's write them down. Okay, so we get negative 0.739. This might not work the way I want it to. 739. Right, so that's going to be this one, 8 minus radical k, I believe. So right? So here's another thing we can do, right? I want to say that 4.739 is the value of 8 minus square root k over 4. Now it doesn't like that, but if I just change this k to an x, it'll graph it for me. Let's get rid of this. Let's zoom out again. Get rid of that. Where's my k? I don't see it. What if we did the other one? Negative 0.739. There it is. So it's got this at around 120. So what do I do? I just say, I don't even know how to, I mean, 120 feels right. So if I just back checked it, 8 minus the square root of 120 over 4. I don't even know what I'm doing here. 8 minus square root 120 divided by 4 is one of my answers from before. Let's just bookmark it. I'm pretty sure that's right, but I'm sure I can just do the quadratic formula. I'm just delaying the inevitable, I think. But look at how much time I have. Let's do 21 and we'll come back to that. When the function f of x is defined as 19 more than 4 times a number x, the function is defined as 19 more than 4 times the number x. If y equals f of x is graphed in the xy plane, what is the best interpretation of the x-intercept? Okay. So f of x is defined as 19 more than 4 times the number x. What is the interpretation of the x-intercept? Oh, I see what they're doing. Negative 19 fourths. Okay, so negative 19 fourths is negative 4.75, which is this. So when f of x equals 0, so when y is 0, the number is that. Yeah. When the number is 0, so that's x being 0, f of x is 19. No, that's the y-intercept. The value of f of x increases. No, that's a slope. No, that's a slope. So this isn't even about the function. This is just literally the definition of what is an x-intercept. And let's make sure that says x-intercept. It doesn't look like a y, but this, yeah, x-intercept. Okay. Interesting. Well, let's just see what it says. Sine of 24 times cosine of 66 plus cosine of 24 times sine of 66 is that number 0.89. And let's just see, I know that there's settings here for radians and degrees, so we got to go to degrees. So that's 1. That's pretty convenient. I hate how I can't make this slightly bigger because I'd love to see that, but I guess it's 1. So let's just do 2 cosine 66 times sine of 24. Nope, so that's wrong. 2 cosine 66 plus 2 cosine 24. No. Cosine of 66. Ooh, I gotta put the parentheses. Squared. I have a feeling it's gonna be one of these. Plus cosine. I keep doing that. Plus cosine of 24 squared is 1. So that was good. And let's try D just for the sake of it. So cosine of 66 squared plus sine of 24 squared is not that. So this is where people are going to freak out with this question. They're going to be like, oh my God, these are all the sine and cosine rules. This is trigonometry we didn't learn. This wasn't on any of the lessons. This is unfair. Guys, just type in the calculator. All you got to know is to switch from degrees to radians, like every freaking calculator ever that you used in high school. So that's it. Just type it in. I'm going to see if there's a better way to do this. I kind of know what they're doing here, but we're gonna do some others first. Let's mark this for review. Let's go. Oh, how did I skip 6? Oh, see, that's why you check everything. This is this one, the 5. Yeah, okay. See, that was close. That's why you got to check. Wow, all right. Let's do this 20 again. Let's do this one. I know it's a quadratic formula, so let's just do it. Negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Notice how I write the formula down before I start working with it because I don't want to hold all that stuff in my head. So negative b, negative 8, plus or minus the square root of negative 8 squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So 8 plus or minus the square root of 64 plus 8 times 7 is 56 all over 4. So notice how with the 8 minus radical k over 4, this part checks out, this part checks out. We're literally just looking at the discriminant here. So 64 plus 56, I guess, is 120. 64 plus 56 is 120. So check. Good. All right, so now I'm going to unmark it because I've proven it 2 ways. I feel good about it. That was much faster than what I did with Desmos before, but I don't know. I feel good about doing Desmos. Let's go here. This is also easy to do. Yeah, we don't need to. We can just write 18. So 5 minus 7 times 2 minus 4x equals 16 minus 8 times 2 minus 4x. Do I want to do the shortcut way? I guess I can. So what we're supposed to do is add this 8, 2 minus 4x over. And watch what happens. If we do that, right, this goes away, as it normally does. It's a whole thing you're subtracting. And then 7 of these plus 8 of these is 1 of these. Or negative 7 of these plus 8 is 1. So this becomes, I'll write the 1, but 2 minus 4x. Right, so almost think of the 2 minus 4x as a y, right? If it was negative 7y plus 8y, then this would just be 1y. So let's get that alone, and we got to do that by getting rid of this 5. So that goes away, and then 16 minus 5 is 11, which is what I had. So done. Gone. Okay, what else is interesting? Let's do this guy. I mean, pick a value. I don't know what to say here. Fine. Since I bookmarked it, I'll stick to what I said. X minus 13 squared plus y minus k squared equals 64. So you see that slider popped up, and then there it comes back again. So there you go. So there's our circle. So the center is at 13, k is 1, so 13, 1. So here, let's just put in 13, 1. Kind of looks like the center to me. Yeah. And is the radius 8? Well, always with circles, don't go by y or x intercepts. Go maximums and minimums, right? So what's that distance? From 9 to negative 7, that's 7 plus 9 is 16. So the diameter is 16, meaning the radius is 8. So there you go. That's proof, right? So take the time to prove it if you need to, but there you go. That's the proof. I was not actually doubting that one, but sure. Let's go to here. Okay. F of x equals 5 times 1/4 minus x squared plus 11/4. What is the value of f of 1/4? 2.75, which is, click this button, and it becomes a fraction, 11/4. Done. Right? So look at how many questions there's no reason you should get wrong. Yes, there's easy things to remember about them, but there's also ways to check them. Right? So this one too, right? You should know how to get an x-intercept from an equation, but if you need a second to like double check that you're not remembering it incorrectly, then just type it up. X plus 5, x plus 4. So what are the x-intercepts? I had 14. There it is. Yep. You could also put them at -4 and -5. All valid answers. Cool. What's this? Oh, yeah, let's solve this the real way. 9. So we have x plus 9, x minus 9 over x plus 9 equals 7. So we can just cross these out. Right now, -9 can't be an answer, but I can just otherwise cross it out. So now x minus 9 equals 7. Add 9 to both sides. X is equal to 16. What I got. So it's not hard. I mean, that's the thing, is I know some of you, might be thinking, oh, it's not that bad. Is Desmos more efficient or not? At my first pass through this first module, I wasn't thinking about Desmos or wasn't thinking about efficiency. I was thinking about laziness. I was thinking about what would be the least work on my brain. And sometimes just typing things into Desmos is easy. Now you got to make sure you type it right. So I don't know that I said this out loud every time, but I was definitely double checking everything I typed with what I saw. Every time I typed something, before I even went to the graph to see what the answer was, I was double checking that I typed it right. So it's possible I missed something, but I'm always building that step into the process. So let's do this number 22. So why is this the answer? Okay, so there's 2 things that we need to know about trigonometry. Most of them are SOHCAHTOA, right? You have a right triangle, You have a thing, you've got the hypotenuse, you've got the adjacent side, you've got the opposite side, right? So basic trig. Clearly that's not happening here. This is something weirder. So if it's not SOHCAHTOA, the other rule is that the sine of x is equal to the cosine of 90 minus x. And I have a video lesson about this, so I talk about this. The other version of that is just flipping them. So the sine of x equals cosine of 90 minus x. Now, in this case, the reason this works is because in a right triangle, if this is x, then by definition, this other acute angle has to be 90 minus x because there's 90 degrees spread over the two acute angles because 90 is already accounted for by the right angle. So this is just a shorthand for something that's easy to prove. Now, it's no coincidence that what's 90 minus 66? It's 24, right? I mean, I'm going to double check, but if it's not, then yeah, I'd be in trouble. So there you go. So what they're really doing is instead of giving you x's and 90 minus x's, they're giving you these numbers. But let's just go back to the x's, right? So I know that this rule is going to be there. If SOHCAHTOA doesn't work on a trig question, I know it's probably this. So let's rewrite this. Sine 24 cosine 66 plus cosine 24, so sine 66. Okay. So using this, right, sine of 24, let's just make that this x. So x is 24, right? So sine of 24 is the same as sine of x. Cosine of 66, right, 90 minus 24 is 66. So this is saying cosine, I'll do it in two steps. Cosine of 90 minus x is kind of what this is saying. Plus cosine of x, right, because x is 24, times sine of 90 minus x. Okay. Now, if we go back to the formula, right, what is cosine of 90 minus x? It's equal to sine of x. So I'm trying to make this work. Because it's both in cosine. How can I show you this? I might have made it so it's harder, but it's okay. It's okay. Okay. Yeah, this is fine. This is fine. So sine of x, so this is basically sine of x times, if we did cosine of 90 minus x, that's sine of x. So this is sine of x, and then the whole thing is squared, right? The x isn't squared, the sine is squared. Okay, so here we have the same thing. Cosine of x times sine of 90 minus x is cosine of x. So this is cosine of x squared. And some of you might recognize that this is a common trig identity. I don't think we really need it for this question, but that's kind of what's going on. Sine of x squared plus cosine of x squared is equal to 1. That is it's basically Pythagorean theorem in a trig version. But this is the start thing, right? So we would need to see what's equivalent. So if I went down to C, which I know is right, that's cosine of 90 minus x squared, right? Because 66, remember, was our 90 minus x. So that's that. And then this is plus cosine of x squared. So notice that part checks out. And what is cosine of 90 minus x? It's the same as sine of 90 minus x. So this is sine of x squared plus cosine of x squared, right? Same part. It's not that bad. Honestly, like I know that seems crazy, but it's not that bad if you think about this in terms of the SAT itself. I'll still bookmark that. I mean, it's possible I'm wrong, but it's a good example. I love this question because it's a good example of something I'm going to use for sure on the hard module, is that there's a limited menu of things that they're really going to ask about. So when I look at a question, I'm instantly reminded of maybe like 2 or 3 topics. And that's it. I'm not searching my brain for the entire realm of mathematics that exists, right? Especially the stuff you learn in school is way more complex and fact heavy than the stuff that they're going to ask on the SAT. So if you know what's on the menu, you don't have to worry as much about what topic is relevant for each question. You're just able to kind of like look at it and just know, right? And trigonometry is perfect because there's really just those two things. SOHCAHTOA and the sine of x equals cosine 90 minus x thing. And it's most of the time it's going to be SOHCAHTOA. So it's not like we really need to go this route ever. But I hope I also showed you that, you know, if when in doubt, if you think there's something you didn't know, Desmos is quite powerful. So just go to Desmos and just get some numbers. It's more, I think in this case, Desmos is actually faster than all this work I did. Like, and maybe there, I'll be thinking about this question before I make the individual video of it. Maybe there's something else to it. Maybe there's a little bit of a shorter cut. I'll be curious too if the College Board explanation uses this piece here, cosine of x, or sine x squared plus cosine x squared equals 1. I'll be very curious if they bring that up, because that would be a first. I don't know that I've seen that on this version of the SAT. Maybe way back in the day. But okay, I'm bored of this section. I'm going to take a little bit of a break before the hard module here, and yeah, then we'll see how it goes. All right, now let's do module 2. It's going to start as soon as I hit that next button, and my brain is well rested. I feel like I was a nice 25 minutes, whatever it was, 30 minutes of relaxing math. So now I'm going to need all my brain power. So I'm going to probably talk a little bit less and certainly not be able to go back to as many questions. So let's go for it. Yep, everything looks good. Module over. Saving. Okay. Cool. Bar graph summarizes. For how many of these 15 days did the battery receive a charge of 0? Charge 0, 6. Cool. Which of the following expresses the slope? Okay. You know what? Right, so my point is something like 0, 1.5, and go far apart, 7, 14.5, right? 14.5. So y over x, 14.5 minus 1.5 over 7 minus 0 is 12 over 7, right? 14.5 minus 1.5. Minus 1.5 is 13. Oh my God. See, this is why I use a calculator. Divided by 7 is 1 point something, 1.9. Good enough. Yeah, right. So up 2 over 1. Yeah, that looks good. Up 2 over 1. Sample 80% of the items are faulty. There are 88 faulty items in the sample. So anytime there's percentages involved, I'm using the open formula. So there's not a percent increase or decrease. So they're saying 83% or 80% of are faulty. There are 88 faulty items. So we don't have the original value, how many total items. So we divide by 0.8. Calculator time, 88 divided by 0.8 is 110. Cool. Exponential. Okay, plug points into equations, right? So 0, 1 feels the best point to plug in. So if I put in 0, this would actually be -1 because that negative is going to be there. Same thing with this. So that's not right. These would both be that. So if I put in 1, I would get 25 here, but here I would get 1/25. So let me just double check. 2 would be 1 over, yeah, that would be squared. And then if it was -1, it would flip. Yeah, that negative is going to mess people up. What is the value of 72x? So just multiply by 9, right? How do we get from 8x to 72x? You multiply by 9. 6 times 9 is 54. Ugh. These stupid things I can't see. All right, which expression is equivalent to that? So here we have 6, so h of 15, q7, h5, q21. Okay, so when they're divided like this, you subtract. So h to the 10th should be on top. So that gets rid of b and d. And then 7, and here you would subtract, you would get -14, but it looks like they want us to put on the bottom. So that would be 14 down here still. So these 7 would cross these out and leave 14. So it's a subtraction problem for the exponents. So 10 over 14. Good. Okay. Company fills boxes with approximately 23 pounds of oranges. Test the accuracy of the filling process. 344 boxes of oranges were selected at random and weighed. Based on the sample, it is estimated that the average weight of all boxes of oranges filled by the company in an 8-hour period is 23.1 pounds, and an associated margin of error of 0.19. Okay, so margin of error is just on either side. Plausible values of the average weight of all boxes of oranges filled with the company are between 22.91 and 23.29. I'm assuming that that's what you get when you add this 19 to both sides. Let's just pick that for now. So plausible values for the average weight of all boxes of oranges filled by the company are less than that or greater than that. No, the whole point is that it's between those. The average weight of all boxes of oranges filled by the company is 23.01. No, because the margin of error is telling us that we're getting a range. The average weight of all boxes of oranges filled by the company is less than. No. Why? That doesn't make any sense. They're telling us the average is 23.1. Right, so it would probably be or 0.01. Where's that even 0.01 coming from? The average weight of all boxes of oranges for the company is greater than 23. Where's 23.01 coming from? Where is that coming from? 23.1 minus 0.19? 23.1 plus 0.19. So I checked the numbers here. Where is that coming from? Is that just a typo in the question? Should that be 23.1? So the reason that these aren't true is we just don't know. The best interpretation of this estimate is telling us we know that the average weight is probably between these ones, right? So 23.01 is also within this range, but we don't know. It could be greater than or less than that because of the range of the margin of error. That's a weird question. What is the value of x? Okay. I'm still not going to do more work than I need to. So 1/3 x plus 6 minus 1/2 x plus 6 equals -8. 1/3 x plus 6 minus 1/2 x plus 6. Am I reading that right? 1/3 x plus 6, 1/2 x plus 6, -8. Yep. There it is. 42. They want x, so there you go. I'll bookmark it. If I have time, I'll come back and do it with more algebra, but I like that method. Okay. Okay. All right. So this is telling me to multiply these things. So let's just write out what they're telling us here. So they're telling us that x squared plus bx times 9x squared minus 27x is going to equal this other thing. And we need to know the value of b. So the b is attached to this. So we can go a couple ways here, but let's just be really stupid about it, right? So this is 9x to the 4th minus 27x to the 3rd plus 9bx to the 3rd. So these two are going to work together, minus 27bx squared. And if I'm thinking about this, the minus 3x squared works out with this really, really well. Yeah, so what would get me there? So negative 27b is equal to -3. So let's just divide by -27, divide by -27. This cancels. B is equal to plus 1 over 9. Now, does that make sense with the other one? So if I did 1/9 in here, 1/9 in here, this would be 1. So -27 plus 1 is -26. How's that look? Good. Perfect. Okay. In the xy plane, line S passes through that point is parallel to the line represented by that equation. If line S also passes point 4D, what is the value? Okay, so this is plug points into equations, right? So we have y equals mx plus b. We know the y-intercept of S is 0 because that's what that point 0, 0 is. So y equals mx is really all we've got. And it's parallel to the line represented by y equals 18x plus 2. So the m is actually an 18 because they're parallel, they have the same slope. and it passes to the point 4D. So y is equal to 18 times 4, because 4 is my x, and technically d is my y. So 18 times 4 is 72. What is the value of d? 72. Yeah, I mean, I could plug this in Desmos and check it out, but seems fine. I doubt I'll have time for it. Does it reach its minimum? For what? It's 45, because these are x-intercepts, and it's halfway between them. But I'm just going to double check that, because very easy to make a mistake here. X minus 44, x minus 46. For what value of x does f of x reach its minimum? So here's its minimum, and the value of x is 45. See how little time that took? But yeah, good. Value of x, they want x. Okay, cool. 12. In the triangle x, y, okay, y is a right angle. So, okay, y, x, y, z. Point P lies on xz, and point Q lies on yz, such that PQ is parallel to xy. Okay, so let me just make sure I got that right. Point P lies on xz, and point Q lies on yz, such that PQ is parallel to xy. Cool. If the measure of angle xzy, so here, is 63, what is the measure of angle xpq? xpq, so right here. So this is a right angle, so we got to find this out. So that's 180, well, let's just do 90 minus 63, which is 27. So that's here. And then that's a supplementary angle. So that's 180 minus 27. 180 minus 27 is 153. A lot of questions are just about following instructions. That was purely what this was about. The math here is easy. You just got to follow the instructions. So you just got to build what they tell you. Okay, xpq, is that the right one? xpq, yeah, feels good. Next. In a set of 4 consecutive odd integers where the integers are ordered from least to greatest, the first integer is represented by x, the product of 12 and the fourth odd integer is at most 26 less than the sum of the first and third. Okay. This has got to be an arithmetized situation. Okay, for 4 consecutive odd integers, the first integer is represented by x. So x is 1. So 1, 3, 5, and 7 are the numbers. The product of 12 and the fourth, so times 12, I always forget my 12 times tables. That's 84. 7 times 12 is 84. Okay, is at most 26 less than the sum of the first and the third. So the first and the third is 6. And 26 less than that. What? Do I need to, is this, maybe there's a value for x that actually is the answer here. The product of 12 and the fourth odd integer, 12 and the fourth, is at most 26 less than the sum of the first and third odd integers. 26 less than the sum of it. So 26 less than this, right, is negative 20. Which inequality represents the situation? Does that mean that there's specific values of x that could work? I guess so. But I still like that I plugged in numbers here, right? So is it 12 times x plus 6 or 12 times x plus 4? Well, I did 12 times 7. So x plus 6 would be how we would get 7, right? Now we get rid of these two, right? Because if x is 1, 12 times that, okay. And is at most means that it's less than that. So the sum of the first and the third, so first and the third is x and x plus 4, because 5 is x plus 4, and I subtract 26. So notice, I don't even think this makes sense. Maybe I'm misreading this, but it doesn't even make sense with the numbers. There's probably some values of x that actually work and others that don't, but it's still having numbers, arithmetizing this allowed me to think about these equations in a much more logical way. That was good. Good job, Mike. Okay, given system has infinitely many solutions, meaning there's the same line. So what is the value of G over K? So they don't look the same right now. So we need to get them the same. Let's kill off, okay. So this is 14. So I'm a bit behind schedule here, but that's okay. 2/5. Can I just do 2/5 over 7/5? That feels too easy. So let's make these the same. Infinitely many solutions are the same. So we need to make 2/7 look like 5/2. So we're gonna okay. Okay. Let's do this. G over K. So it might just be that simple, but I'm nervous. Let's do times 5. I want to get common denominators. 2/5 x plus 7/5 y equals 2/7, right? So multiply by 35, right? So that's times 7 on the top here. So that's 14x, the 5's will cancel, plus the 5's will cancel, 49y is equal to 7 times the 5, so that's 10. Okay, that's just easier for me to think about. So let's do that on the bottom. So g of x plus ky equals 5 over 2. So if I multiply by 2, I get 2gx plus 2ky is 5. Multiply 2 again. So times 2. So that's 4gx plus 4ky equals 10. Right? So now 14 is equal to 4g, and 49 is equal to 4k. So g is equal to 14/4, and k is equal to 49/4. We want g over k, so g over k is going to be flip it, 4 over 49. So that's 2, and that's 7. 2/7. Bookmarking that. I bet there's a better way to do it. I think I'm right, but there you go. Okay, the table, S is a constant. There's a linear relationship, which define represents the relationship. Okay, plug points into equations. This is so easy. Okay, 15. Okay, so let's make S a constant. So S can S be 0? That means the points are 0, 24, 0, 21, and 0, 15. I don't think it's going to work. So that means if x is 0, that means, yeah, so 0, 3 times 20, no. If s is 0, this works, right? Because 0 times y, right? Am I crazy here? So a, right, we'd plug in a point. So just plug in this one and this. So that would be 0 times 0, because that's the x, plus 3 times 15 is equal to 0. No. B, so 0 is my x, plus 0 times y is equal to 0. Yes. C, x is 0, plus 0 times y is equal to 18. No. D, 0 plus 3 times 15 is equal to 18. No. So I guess it's B. I might be making some bad assumptions there, but I like it. Well, why don't I just plug them in as is? So as I put S is 15, right? So 3S plus 15S is 18S. That makes sense. And negative 3S plus 21S is 18S. That makes sense. And negative 6S plus 24S is, yeah, okay, that works. I could just plug them in without the arithmetize. This is exactly one distinct real solution. Okay, what is the value of K? Okay, this is kind of going to be annoying, I think. Y equals X plus 26 minus K. Y equals X squared minus 5X plus K. So we need them to have exactly one solution. So we should set these equal to each other and start to rearrange, I guess. X squared minus 5X plus K is equal to X plus 26 minus K. So minus X plus K minus 26 minus 26, gone. X squared minus 6X plus 2K minus 26 equals 0. One distinct real solution means the discriminant has to be equal to 0. So b squared minus 4ac equals 0. So b squared negative 6 squared minus 4 times 1. C is 2K minus 26 equals 0. 36 minus, so that's minus 8K plus 26 times 4 is 104 equals 0. So combine like terms, plus 36. So 140 minus 8K is 0. 140 is 8K. K is, divided by 8, 17.5. So no, I'm not going to check, but I hope I can. But yeah, the value of K. Let's hope it's it. What is the value of f of 4? Oh my God, this is ridiculous, right? So 10, isn't it 5? This has got to be one of those fake questions too. That doesn't count because this is way too easy for number 17. So 4 plus 6 is 10. 10 times a half is 5. We'll look at it again because I'm misreading. The area of a rectangular banner is that. The banner's length is an X is 24 inches long in the width. Okay. Yeah, so area, this is a geometry problem. Area is length times width. So the area is 2661. The length, X, is 24 longer than its width. So the length, X, so the width is X minus 24. This is where people are going to mess up. They're going to do X plus 24. But let's just say we had a width, we had a length of, if we had a width of 10, then the length would be 34. So 34 would be the X, and then the width would be 34 minus 24, which is 10. Yes, okay. So we get X squared minus 24X, and then we're going to subtract this over, so 2661. So minus, not plus, and this is the trap right here, but that's going to be what it is. Mark for review, but yeah, seems fine. Right circular cone. What is the slant height? Yeah, this is just gonna be annoying. Let's move on. Which of the following points lies on the graph of each equation? I've seen questions like this before. This is not new. So let's do R is 0, right? So my points then, so we have, so A would be the point 0, 5/7. So if I plugged in 0 for X, then we would get 7 times 0 plus 6 times 5/7 is equal to 5. Gone and no, gone. No, let's just do it this way. B. 0, and this is 5/6. I think this is better. So 7 times 0 plus 6 times 5/6, that's for arithmetizing, is equal to 5. Yeah, so that works. C, so this is 5, and 20. So 7 times 5 plus 6 times 20 is equal to 5. No freaking way. Okay. And D would be 5/7 and 0. So 7 times 5/7 plus 6 times 0 is equal to 5. Yes. Okay, I expected that. What do you want to do from here? Let's do, so we got rid of A and C. Should we just do 1? R is 1. So B is 1 comma 7/6 plus 5/6, which is 12/6, which is 2. So 1, 2 is the point. So in the first equation, 7 times 1 plus 6 times 2 is 5. No, that seems wrong. Let's try D. So that's negative 6/7 plus 5/7, comma 1. I don't know why I'm doing that. Negative 1/7, comma 1 is the point, right? So 7 times negative 1/7 plus 6 times 1 is equal to 5. So that's negative 1 plus 6 is 5. Good enough. That's this. Again, there's probably, I can throw this in Desmos pretty easily. There's ways to do this. Oh, I love this. I love this question. I've never seen this one, but it's this. I know exactly what it is. Plug points into equations. If you can't have that thought right away, you're in some real trouble. The cost of renting a carpet cleaner is $52 for the first day and $26 for each additional day. Which of the following functions gives the cost in dollars of renting the carpet cleaner for D days? So if you rent it for 1 day, it costs $52. So just go down the line. So 26 plus 26 is 52. Yes. 26 plus 52 is not 52. 52 minus 26 is not 52. 52 plus 78, it's got to be this. So $26 is if we had 2 days, right? That would be 78 because we would do 26 times 2 plus 26. Yeah. God, this is so easy. So easy. And I'm going to mark it for review. Okay. I guarantee this is going to be a nightmare, but let's do it. All right. Speed of vehicles increasing at a rate of 7.3 meters per second squared. What is the rate in miles per minute squared? Okay, so this is my conversion of units. So we're going to do 7.3 meters per second squared. Okay, 1 second squared. What is this rate in miles per minute squared? So we have to do this. We have to do 1 second, or rather 60 seconds, is 1 minute. Right, we got to cross out units. But if I cross out the seconds, I'm only crossing out one of the seconds, right? Second squared is 2 seconds, right? So this is meters. So I got to do it again. This is where people are going to go wrong. 1 minute. So now what do I have? I have minutes squared, which is what I want, right? Because if I continue my little process here, they want miles per minute squared. So 1 mile, or x miles per 1 minute squared. So minute squared, gone. So I need to convert meters to miles. So 1,609 meters is 1 mile. Miles goes, meters goes, everything's crossed out. So now we just multiply down. So 7.3 times 60 times 60 is 26280 equals 1609x. Don't forget that x. So divide by 1609. Divide by 1609 is 16.333. So to the nearest tenth. I'm marking it purely because I've got some time, so maybe I'll come back, but oh my gosh. Oh, I got one more. This is so far a very easy math section, in my opinion, but I just know what I'm doing, so maybe it's all easy. A right circular cone has a volume of 7. Okay, so cone, it's here. Cone, 1/3 pi r squared h. So let's write that down. This is going to be a plug points into equations question of some kind. Has a volume of 7,1,148 pi. So that's going to be good. And the area of its base is that. Okay, so the area of its base, basically what they're giving us is this, because a cone has a base of a circle. And what is the area of a circle? Pi r squared. Pi r squared, right? So that's where this formula comes from, is it's the area of the base. So pi r squared is this 5. So let's do this. Let's, where's the eraser? Eraser. Back to this. So the area, this piece here, pi r squared, is 5,929 pi. So even if you don't know what they mean by slant height, you know you got to solve for this regular height. So the pi's are going to go 5,929 divided by 3 times a third. Damn it. It's a mess. Okay. So 7,1,148 equals 1,976 and a third. Okay. So I'm going to use the answer button here. So 7,1,148 divided by the answer is 36. So that works out nice. So that's the height. But when they say slant height, okay, we just found this as 36. They mean, what's this guy right here? So we have the radius. If we can get the radius as a right triangle. So why do we have the radius? Because 5,929 pi is the area of the base, which is pi r squared. So we end up having to go this way anyway. So what is the square root of 5,929? 77. Okay. So now a little Pythagorean theorem. Right? So 77 squared plus 36 squared equals c squared. So we just see, of course there's shortcuts, right? We just did 77 squared. 36 squared is 1296. 1296 is c squared plus 5929. 7225 square root is 85. 85. Cool. Possible I messed that up, so I'll bookmark it. Like everything in bookmarking is like, maybe I went too fast. But I feel good about pretty much everything here. This one was nasty, but I feel like I'm good. Let's check this fast. 2/5 x plus 7/5 y equals 2/7. Value of g over k. So we can do, where was this? We found g and we found k. Where were they? Okay, we had g is 14/4. So 14/4 x plus 49/4 y is equal to 5/2. Oh, yes. Oop. Yep, same line. Feel good about that. I am curious if there's a better way to do what I did. I feel like I'm checking my answer, but I'm not reproving it. So let's move on. I feel good about that. Oop. Okay, we can check this too. Okay, y plus 17.5 is equal to x plus 26. Y minus 17.5 is equal to x squared minus 5x. Do they intersect at one point? Looks like it. So I'm good with that. Yeah, I'll just leave it. I mean, I'll leave it bookmarked. I mean, am I crazy here? F of x is equal to 1/2 x plus 6. What do you want from me? You want the value of f of 4? 5. Okay. I think this is just a preview, like a pretest question, and the College Board's being a little lazy there. 0 equals x squared minus 24x minus 2661. Okay. So this is giving me a length, ooh, it's a messy length, of 64.962. So 64.962 is my length, 64.962. My width would be 24 less than that. So 64.962 minus 24 is 26,660, close to that. So it's just not even, but that's good enough. So yeah, that's my proof there. I don't have time to type this. Yeah. I feel pretty good about that. I mean, always possible I made a careless mistake. This one feels a little risky. Yeah, I mean, possible I made a mistake here. 42 plus 6. 42 plus 6 is 48. Divided by 3 is 16. Minus 1/2 of plus 24 is 40. Oh, minus 16 minus 24 is -8. All right, so here is where we end, and I will let it upload and see the scores on the College Board app. I will pause when I let that go, and you will see that. One thing while this is loading, though, if you are taking a real SAT, don't close your laptop while you see this. Right? They will not upload your stuff. You have to see this. You have to see the confetti, and that's how you know that your actual SAT, even on the real exam, is done. So when you are done with your last section, you're going to feel really excited to be able to be done and get out of there, but you have to wait. You're going to have a million people on that Wi-Fi. It's doing something. I don't know what it's doing, but it's doing stuff. You got to wait till you see this screen. I've heard stories of people who I think were just so excited to be done with their SAT that they slammed their laptop or shut, basically. They exited out of the app before they saw this, and they were out the door. And then the Bluebook did not upload their results. And so they ended up getting a score that was just based on parts of their answers or none at all. So that can happen. So maybe just, follow instructions and you'll be fine. But yeah, let's pause this and view your score. That should take me to my site, and I'll see how I do, and I'll let you know. All right, so there you have it, 1580. I'm proud of that. That's pretty good. I felt really good about the math. I had a really good feeling I would be 100% there. I just, nothing surprised me. Not to say that there weren't hard questions on the math, but everything felt pretty normal. Everything, I hope you noticed as I was taking it, I was able to identify the topic. And once you kind of know what topic there is, you're really ready to go. In a few cases, I kind of knew where things were a little weird. I remember that inequalities question. That one threw me off a little bit, but I had strategies that got me back to things. Plug points into equations was a huge help on this exam. Desmos was a huge help too, but the plug points into equations made a huge difference. A lot of the weird algebra just kind of melted away. And then I arithmetized in places and gave myself some numbers to think about when they didn't give me numbers themselves. Just made a huge, huge difference. Now, the reading, I did feel a little bit harder for me. I mean, it's not to say that this is a harder test than another. I know some people are going to ask that in the comments, but I think this is pretty comparable to SATs 4, 5, and 6 in terms of difficulty. I think this is pretty comparable to the real SAT experience. Whether or not I maybe got sidetracked by a question or two in reading and it threw off my pacing, that's a me thing. That's not about the test. So some of you who worry about, well, what if I get an easy test or a hard test? You're thinking of this wrong. Any sort of difference like that is not going to really matter in the scoring. What matters is how do you deal with that? How are you getting sucked into a question? Do you have a good sacrifice plan? I think I did a great job there. I did get 2 wrong in reading, so we'll look at that. But obviously you can see from the score report, doesn't help, right? Because you can be perfect in these things, but you still are getting things wrong. So the ones I got wrong are either going to be, I think they're information and ideas. They could be craft and structure, but I'm pretty sure they're information and ideas. So let's look at my actual thing here. So this is the score report without the scores because it doesn't show it on this page. If I scroll down, right, so when you get this, it's going to have it here. Just hit all so that you can see all the questions and everything's there. And that you can always save this as a PDF if you want to. But we can then do here your answer. Just click it once, click it twice. Oh, because I have to do this. Sorry, because I got everything right in the first module. That's why. Now, if I click it twice, basically, it's going to move all the incorrect answers to the top. Now, in a normal review, remember, you are going to want to look at more than just the ones you got wrong. You're going to need to look at the ones you bookmarked. And so I have all that saved in my video. I would look at those as well if I were reviewing. So make sure you don't neglect that. I will have videos for each of these individual questions as soon as I'm able. But let's look at number 10. This is the one I guessed on. So we can look at this, and I hid the answer. I don't remember what it was even just from the last page. So we can look at this and see. I didn't really give it a shot. I'm curious if I would have gotten it if this was the right call. In a study of urban physical expansion, this person conducted a meta-analysis of 300 cities worldwide to determine whether urban land expansion was more strongly influenced by urban population growth or by growth in domestic product per capita. So, okay. Because of efficient national government is necessary to provide urban services and infrastructure that attract economic investment, this person proposed that absent other factors, the importance of GDP per capita growth to ULE would likely increase relative to the importance of population growth as governments become more efficient. Okay. So the importance of GDP would likely increase. So the importance of GDP per capita growth would likely increase relative to the importance as governments become more efficient. I understand why time is passing, right? Percentage of ULE attributed to population growth and GDP per capita in 2 world regions. So this is just saying the importance of GDP per capita would likely increase relative. So it's, where's my pen? So let's do red so I don't forget what I did. This is question 10 again. So the GDP is more important than the population as governments become more efficient. So is that over time? I don't know. So urban population growth, GDP per capita. So like the fact that this is growing, I don't know. Let's see. This suggests the possibility that national governments of countries in Region 1 experience declines in efficiency. Increase in efficiency leads to more GDP versus population. As governments become more efficient. Okay. National governments of countries in Region 1 experience declines in efficiency because the population is more important and the GDP is less important over time. Maybe. I mean, that seems possible. Countries in Region 1 experience a slower rate of economic growth than Region 2, despite increasing national government efficiency. But if you increased efficiency, then you would have more growth, right? So I don't think that's right. And national governments of most countries in Region 2 became more efficient in the period from 2000 to 2014 than they had been in the period 1970, but those of several countries in this region did not. Well, I don't want to compare countries within the region. National governments of countries in Region 1 and in Region 2 generally became more efficient, but they've been in the period, but at different rates. I guess it's this one, because if we expect that the GDP would become more important as efficiency increases, here it's becoming less important, right? Unless I'm reading that wrong, it would likely increase. So if they got less efficient, that seems weird to me that that's opposite. Let's just see if I'm right. Correct answer is A. Yeah. Okay, I get it. This is basically flipping this upside down, right? So if we have an increase in efficiency, then GDP is going to be greater than the population. Ooh, someone's dog is barking. If we had a lower efficiency, then we would expect the opposite. We would expect that population would be more important. And that's what we're seeing, right? In Region 1, the population part is getting more important. That's not so bad. I mean, it's hard because you have to kind of you have to flip the summary that they're kind of giving you. It's a lot of text. It ends up being less difficult than I thought it was at the first glance. So does that mean I made the right call? I don't know. Still feels kind of hard. So I'm fine with it. So yeah, that's number 10. And then this one I did right. And so here I got it wrong. The correct answer is B, which I eliminated, I'm pretty sure, if my memory is right, very quickly, because decreasing their weight. Weight is nowhere in this, right? Reveals a change in their composition, right? And giving it a relatively yellowish appearance. So its color is noticed. So we're talking about the proportions of these things. The coins with silver content below 80% were widely considered unsuitable for trade. They speculate a crisis in confidence in the currency, according to Sidon, which was likely relieved despite Sidon's persistent oppressive financial obligations as a result of this person's decision, right? To keep the amount of silver and Sidonian coins consistent with that in coins minted in 367. And 367, I thought I wrote this somewhere. This is what, 14? Less copper, right? So, so keep the amount of silver consistent because they don't have more silver. Because according to this, I'm reading this stupid. This is crazy. They're saying that basically, since they don't have money, they're not going to be able to increase the silver, like I said. Yet, higher than 8%. No, because coins with a silver content below were widely considered unsuitable for trade. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm so frustrated with this question. Like, I get what they're saying here, but it's one of those cases where never in a million years would I have gotten this right on the test. Because the weight thing is nowhere mentioned. I feel like I need to understand coinage in order to get this. So here's what, I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted. Here's what they're saying. They want to keep the amount of silver consistent because they don't have enough money to add more silver, which is kind of what choice A is saying. But if they decrease their weight, I guess that means that would raise the silver percentage to more than 80, because if you just take out a bunch of copper, then the overall percents would change, right? If you only took out copper, the percent of silver would go up, the percent of copper would go down, and the overall weight of the thing would go down. So I guess that's what they're saying. So that means they don't have to add in more silver, but so because they don't have the money for it, but it makes it more suitable for trade. But I don't understand how that's different than A, proclaim that the percentage of silver in coins suitable for trade be raised to a threshold higher than 8%. I guess because proclaiming it doesn't necessarily make it so, but proclaiming that the silver in coins, if people are saying that the problem, the crisis in confidence in the currency was relieved, and they are saying that anything below 80% is widely considered unsuitable, to me, the only way to relieve the crisis would be to get back above 80%. So that, to me, is what A is saying. Let's see what it says here about A. Choice A is incorrect because the text conveys that a crisis in confidence in the currency of Sidon likely occurred around 367 because the percentage of silver in coins had fallen below 80% because of the financial pressures. This is exactly what I said, making the coins unsuitable for trade. Thus, announcing that the threshold for the percentage of silver in coins would be raised, that is that the coins would need to contain even more than 80% silver to be suitable for trade, likely would have worsened the crisis rather than, see, this is just too much knowledge. I get what they're saying. To me, I read this as like, oh, this guy, Abdastart, the first decision, he is making the coins. So if he's saying, okay, we're only going to make coins now that have higher than 80%, then he's in charge of that. So he's not going to then, it's not like the coins are now somehow unsuitable for trade. I don't know. Thus announcing that the threshold for the percentage of silver in coins would be raised. Coins would need to contain even more than 80% silver. I don't see how it would have worsened the crisis. I don't see how A and B are different. Feel free to comment. Maybe I'm missing something. I'm going to obviously take more time with this test when I make up the videos for each of the things. I think this is just something that we have to deal with the reading. Is like, you will get these questions where, like, maybe I'm doing a thing I tell my students not to do, which is I'm telling a bit of a story. I'm making assumptions about how this system of coinage works, and I'm using those assumptions to justify my answer. But I'm bringing in too many assumptions. Maybe choice B, the correct answer here, has just fewer assumptions, right? I still think in order to make B make sense, what they're suggesting is that if we lower the amount of copper and take out the weight, then we are thereby also increasing the threshold to be higher than 80. So in my mind, A and B say the same thing. Either way, you got to get above 80. And so whether you reduce the amount of copper or just raise the amount of silver, I don't know. I don't know why one is easier than the other. But again, feel free to comment. But maybe I'm just making some assumptions. We'll see when I do a little bit more deep dive in this. But again, I'm very happy with this result. 780 is an excellent score. I am not disappointed. I had a plan to skip some things if I needed to. I'm glad I had that plan. I made some smart choices, and I think I got there. So I got one wrong because I had a random guess, one wrong because of just a really, really hard question. But yeah, this was textbook to me. Textbook, great practice test. Great way to evaluate your scores before you take the real thing. So just make sure that when you review this, you review it much more thoroughly. This video is mostly just to give you a sense of how I experience the test. You can compare that. But in terms of getting the best strategies, I will have those individual videos for each question as soon as I'm able. And that is really the best way to review a test, because there's good chance in some of these I didn't do the most efficient thing. So I will try to figure that out for you. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions, let me know. As always, I'm Mike Settele. And remember, when it comes to your scores, don't settle for less. Settele for more.